Hello, 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 everyone. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our lecture 2 of this series of learning C++ from basic to advanced. In previous lecture 1, we have learned about C++ basics. In this lecture, we will be learning about C++ variables and many more things. So let's start with our first slide in which we will learn about what are C++ variable. A basic intro of C++ variable is variables are used to store values when our code is executed. Okay, so variables क्या है? Variables are the packets of small memory spaces. It can be many gigabytes and many more depending on our function. What are variable here now? Variable are the small packets inside the memory space. When we define int a function, so this stores the value in the small packets in memory space when our code is executed. इसको अगर ऐसा माने कि वेरिएबल एक स्टोर है जो राशन की दुकान में बहुत सारे राइस वीट स्टोर करके रखे हैं. ठीक है. नेक्स्ट, सिंटैक्स क्या होता है डिक्लेयरिंग फॉर वेरिएबल्स इन C++. सिंटैक्स big as you think. Here first word we use int a equals to 4. What is int here? Int is the variable type, a is the variable name, and 4 is the parameters we have given here. It's not compulsory to give the parameter here. We can give it further in the code. Always remember to define the variable name as much you can. Like in place of a you can write full like number of apples. Here we will write small words for making it easier. Now, how we can change the values of variable? If for say we have already given the value of a as 4, in further code we can write value of a equals to 5 and change the value in the memory space packet as 5, not as 4. Now another method to change the name or values of variable. If you have not defined anything earlierly, you can define further in the code and it will align some memory space in the memory. Next, naming conventions in C++. There are 3 types of naming conventions: lowercase, uppercase, and camel case. You are already familiar with the lower and uppercase. Here you will learn a new thing, camel case. Lowercase, as we all know, we write all our letter in lower case, means small, and in upper case we write all our letter capital. Now the new thing you will learn here is camel case which we use in C++. It is written as the first word is always in lowercase, then the subsequent word's first letter is always in capital letter. मीन्स कि पहला जो वर्ड है हमेशा लोअर केस में रहेगा, जिसके बाद वाले सब्सिक्वेंट वर्ड्स आएंगे जितने भी आएंगे उसका पहला लेटर कैपिटल में होगा. ठीक है, आगे बढ़ते हैं. रूल्स फॉर नेमिंग वेरिएबल्स इन C++. There are some of the rules to name a variable in C++. Here we are learning few, and further videos we will learning many more rules on the basic understanding as we start to code. First rule is variable name should not be begun with a number. What does this say? Variable's name should not begin with a number. For us, say we write 2x, y, z. It's not allotted any space in our code, or if you execute after the code, it's not successfully executed. It will execute with an errors. So if you want to write 2, you can write after first word here, and anywhere. So this will be permitted in our code. So our rule number 2 says white space is not permitted. Means the white space between any word or a letter or a sentence is not permitted in C++ variable naming. You can write side by side or consistently, but can't give a white space between them. Okay. Now, rule number 3 of naming of variables in C++ is a C++ keyword, which is known as reserved word, cannot be used as a variable name. This says that a C++ reserved word like cout, cin, if, else statements cannot be used, but other words like apples, banana, or any other can be used in C++ naming, which are not reserved as C++. Next, rule number 4. It is preferred to use naming with more than one word with all lowercase letter for the first word and the capitalization of the first word each subsequent word. Means this statement is nothing but it says that use camel case in C++. And what's camel's case is? Camel case is to write the first letter in small and subsequent, मतलब इसके बाद जो भी वर्ड्स आएंगे उसको हमें उसका फर्स्ट वर्ड हमेशा कैपिटल रखोगे. टी स्टॉल कंटेनर का सी लेटर कैपिटल. ओके, so let's begin in the rule number 5. Rule number 5 says when creating a variable it is preferred to give them meaningful names. As I said that it is always better to write full name instead of giving them a shortcut. It always enhances your performance in case of interviews when you get a job or interview for internship. It's always preferred to use full letter. In practice we will only use small letters to make it more easier to understand. Okay. Rule number 6 says all lowercase letters should be used when creating one word variable names. अगर हमारा एक वर्ड वेरिएबल नेम है तो हमेशा सब लोअर केस में रहेंगे, अगर मल्टीपल वर्ड्स हैं तो फिर कैमल केस अप्लाई हो जाएगा। ठीक है। अब C++ identifier. What are C++ identifier? C++ identifier are nothing but name of class, variables and method. Okay. Identifier nothing but the name of class, method and variables and etc. Rules we should remember about identifier are: first rule, it says that all the identifier should begin with the letter A to Z in capital or lowercase, in currency characters or an underscore. Means you can use an underscore, dollar sign or letter, your preferences, lower or uppercase, and write your variable name. It's your preference. You can use any word before it, but it should be defined like these four are defined. Any other word like star, hash will give an error while you use it. Now, rule number 2 of identifier is, after the first character, identifier can have any combination. Means you can have any combination like x dollar y or dollar x y dash or dollar x star y dash or dash star dollar star y or any other like this. You can have any combination. ठीक है. Rule number 4 says a keyword cannot be an identifier, as we learned that a keyword which are given in C++ like output, input, if else statement cannot be used as an identifier. Rule number 4, identifier are case sensitive. This means that if you have defined a function with t and further code you call that cout t, so it will not work because here you use t in uppercase and here are t is in lower case. So always remember to write the correct name of the identifier as you have preferred before. If you write here lowercase t, it will always execute without an error. Rule number 5 says that white space is not permitted. What does this mean? This means that if you use the t, then white space, then container, it's not a box, it's a gap. So this is not permitted in C++ code. Instead, you can use here run underscore run Rahul and so on. So this will always be permitted in our C++ code. Next, example of legal and illegal identifier. Here I have listed some of the examples of legal and illegal identifier. What are these? That you can't use to, as I have stated before any word in identifier or variable, and star cannot also be used, but we can use underscore to abc and dollar $t. Many more you can use are dollar star t underscore star 2t and many more. How many you want to drink your tea, you can have this. So This was our end of the C++ variables and identifiers. In next video, we'll learn many more things about C++, like C++ data types, integer types. It has many types like character, boolean, floating, and many more that we will discuss in our next lecture number 3. So stay tuned with our new series and learn many more things about C++. Thank you. Like, share and subscribe this video.